Hey there, we had a release of the .NET SDK several weeks ago, and it's about time we had a blog post and a introduction video to kind of get you familiar with all the changes with this latest .NET version 4 SDK. There's been many changes to this SDK, and if you take a look at the repo here, you can find the latest patch release for the version 4 SDK. And then if we look at the layout of the SDK itself, you notice there's a lot of change, right? And the first thing I want to point out are kind of like your entry point into the project and the SDK. We have 3 solution files. The first one is kind of like the one that has been around for like quite some time. It's the deepgram solution right here. This effectively allows you to build the core components of the SDK. So this is literally the SDK itself and this deepgram.microphone project, which I'll get into a little bit later. There's also a second solution file, dev-build.solution. This is really just used as a part of the CI/CD process. You probably don't really need to pay too much attention to it. It just has different configuration for our CI/CD system. And one solution file which you might be very interested in is this dev.solution. So this allows you to have a solution file which contains all of the projects contained within this repo. And when I mean all of the projects, I mean basically the main SDK itself, that deepgram.microphone package, and also all of the examples. And so having said that, you'll notice that there are a ton of examples. And if you go into this examples folder, you'll see that there's literally an example for every major feature that we have in the SDK. And you can immediately see that we have functionality now for the SITS APIs, so the analyze or the read endpoint, which allows you to do topics, intents, sentiment, and summarization. We have a refresh of the manage API and a refresh of the pre-record API. And we have the speak or the text-to-speech portion of the API, which is now implemented. And then we also have a revamp of the streaming. So if you go into any one of these folders, you'll notice that you'll have an example for every type of significant feature within that category of API. So like analyze, you can see intent, sentiment, summary, topic. And then if I just pick another random one, you can go to pre-record, you can see, you can upload a file, you can get the transcription for a URL, you can get the transcription plus intent, sentiment, topics, and so forth. Yeah, there's been a lot of changes. Go ahead and take a look. I would encourage you to browse around in this repo just to take a look at some of the different things that are available. So if we opened up the dev solution file here, which I'm going to have already pre-opened, you'll notice that, like I said before, it will have the deepgram SDK itself, this deepgram microphone project, all of the tests that we have, these unit tests, and also all of the examples contained within the repo. It mimics the same directory structure in the repo as we do here in the solution file. So if I were to do a pre-record URL, so basically doing a transcription for an audio file, providing a URL, if I were to run this, set this as startup project, and then if I go ahead and hit the debug on this thing, it will run the project and do the transcription based on a URL, and which you can see right here. So this is the transcription for that audio file at this given URL. You'll notice upon running this that we have a lot of logging. So this is a new feature that has been implemented in this version of the SDK, is that we have different logging levels and different verbosities of logging. So you can get the default, which is right here, which is just kind of informational messages. You can turn it off completely. I wouldn't advise that, because if we need to troubleshoot or debug something in the field, we would get no logs to kind of troubleshoot. But you can enable it, you can disable it, you can increase the logging level so that it's very chatty to give you more details about like what's going on. So that's one really cool thing. And if I were to just pick another one, you can see like an example, analyze topics. So if we were to want to like run the topics example, you can just go ahead and right click here, set as startup project. We can see the source code for it right here. If we hit run the debugger on this particular example, it will take this text file right here, that same level as the example, and it will pass it through the analyze or the read API to do to get topics, right? So you can see all the topics that are generated based on this particular sample text file. The big one thing that is very different in this version, aside from all the examples, that we have a significantly revamped live streaming experience for the streaming or live transcription client. With that, a lot of the SDKs are now kind of moving towards this. Here's an example for every type of situation. Okay, and so one of the big changes that we've done is made the live streaming experience a lot easier to get going. And by doing that, we had to introduce this DeepGram microphone package, which effectively just takes Port Audio, which is a audio library that's cross-platform that works in Linux, Mac OS, and then also in Windows. And we've provided an easy-to-use package where it installs all your dependencies in order to use the microphone on your local laptop. And so if we go to the streaming example here, and we go to the microphone example, and then we set the project as the one we want to run, you can take a look at the code here. It has, effectively to initialize the library, the SDK, to initialize the microphone. You can see all of the different events that you can subscribe to. Then it has the different option parameters that you can provide to the live client. Then we instantiate the microphone, and then we pass in the callback for the send function to the microphone. So effectively what we're saying is, just like in all of the other SDKs that kind of function in the same exact way, we provide the function to send or push data into DeepGram, where the microphone will do that automatically. And so if we go ahead and run this example, testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. There we go. And you can see, this is just an example, like I said, just to kind of give you an overview of how easy it is to run a local live streaming example on your laptop here. But you can see all the different messages: open, speech started, the speaker, which was when I was talking, it was grabbing, what I was saying, and then passing it to DeepGram to get the transcription, speech started, and then the close message. So you can see here that there's a lot of information that gets printed to the log, and it makes the overall experience for the streaming live client a lot cooler and a lot simpler to use. The cool thing about this version 4 of the SDK is now it's feature equivalent to all of the other SDKs, so it's now in line with all of the major functions for JavaScript, Python, Go, and so now they're kind of all functionally equivalent, providing the same functionality and a lot of the same examples. Again, give the SDK a try. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, issues, bugs, definitely feel free to create an issue in the repo or reach out to us in Discord, and we can go ahead and help you with any kind of issue or thing you might encounter. Cool. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.